We are talking all about the motivated seller script. And I'm not going to give you like some canned speech on exactly what to say. I'm going to show you how the average guy or gal with zero experience can talk to any seller. And here's the key is you're going to be confident about it and you're going to be your real self. Wholesaling is not selling. I don't give a crap what guru, what coach, what mentor, what influencer tells you it is. It's not. And let me give you the exact example why. Think about this. You work for a car dealership selling cars. Honestly, a noble profession because people are trying to work their way up. I have no problems with it. I think it's absolutely amazing. Now, the reality is when 100 customers walk into that dealership and say you had access to all 100 customers, your boss, your general manager, whoever, sales manager, they fully expect you to sell 100% of the people. And then they tell you constantly have to improve your closing ratio. Well, I'm here to tell you in wholesaling, it's not that way. We teach you how to be ninja marketers, how to find that needle in the haystack, what we call a motivated seller. Here's the key is, even if I talk to 10, 20, or 30 motivated sellers, I know I'm only going to get a certain percentage of them. I don't ever expect. So if I have 10 motivated seller leads, if I get one done, I'm a super happy guy. So do you understand you are not selling them? It is impossible. If I had 10 leads and you bought 10 properties, I promise you, you're not making any money. So wholesaling has a complete different type of effect on it. The reality is people go, okay, well, Rick, if I'm not selling them, what am I doing it? Ready? Oops, you're a guide. I know that sounds terrible. I'm not talking about a guide at a state or federal national park. They show you around, they know everything. But a guide knows when to take you out of the sun, when to pull you out of the snow, when to pull you out of the rain and keep moving. Here's the difference is because we're only looking for motivated sellers, I only want to work with people that are motivated, period. And when I get them, I can never make them sell me the house. We are not real estate agents. Real estate agents, their job is to sell the listing. If your job is to buy at a discounted price, understanding there's only a few people that are going to qualify and I have to go through a lot of people. So basically, as a guide, you're walking your sellers down a path. I'm going to make sure there's some form of motivation, and then I'm going to save them from getting out of their own way. Honestly, a lot of people are overwhelmed we deal with, and the reality is the real estate is actually just the symptom. The challenge is the human problem, and that's what you need to solve and master as a wholesaler. And so many of you think it's about, I got to be a professional comper. I got to know it. No, I'm telling you, you don't have to know a ton about real estate to be successful in wholesaling. In the beginning, the less you know about real estate, actually, the better off you are. Because to buy discounted properties for wholesaling, I don't care who tells you what. I've been doing this 21 years going on that. If you don't work with motivated sellers, you are not wholesaling. You're literally wasting your time. Anything outside of a motivated seller is basically what realtors work with. So if you're beating your head against the wall and you're having frustrated conversations, I guarantee the one problem you're having is you're not working with motivated sellers. So you got to fix that first. So many people try to like comb the MLS to find their deals. I'm not saying there's not deals on MLS. I just don't think it's a good newbie starter position because you don't know what to say. All a realtor is focused on, are you buying the property and they want to vet you, which you're going to get caught on it. And number two, they want the highest price possible. You want the complete opposite, little to no money at the lowest price. You understand why that is a struggle. So when you talk to a seller, so here we're going to preface this right now. Ready? Talk to a seller. You have three main objectives. That's it. I've been doing this 21 years, guys. I have never been more true than ever. And here's the really cool part. I'm just not like talking to get hits and likes on a YouTube video or a Facebook or an Instagram. I'm giving you the real-time experience. And if you guys want to use my knowledge, it's absolutely amazing. If not, go through the 21-year journey. And I promise you, you eventually will adopt this philosophy. So when talking to three sellers, three main objectives. Number one, you have to seek motivation. It's actually the first thing you have to hunt. If not, you are going to give your time away for free. You're going to get frustrated and you're going to drive yourself nuts. Year two, I got stuck in this exact predicament. Why? Because I thought I could close everybody. And I realized quickly, I can't make anyone sell me a house. And number two, my specialty is in marketing and finding motivated sellers. And once I have them, I just walk them down the path and I keep the seller out of their own way. Most sellers that are selling problematic properties, their life is usually in massive chaos. Massive. How do I know this? I just have a lot of experience in this area. So I help them. I know if they have to have the house sold, they have a pending financial issue, a date issue, something like that, then I have to guide them. Do you know how many times sellers try to cancel on a contract over the last 21 years with me? Tens of thousands of times. Do you know how many contracts I've saved? Why? I just guide them down the path. You see, you can't take a non-motivated seller and pull them on the motivated seller path. You can talk for the next 4 months of your life. They will never change. I've tried it. I've tried it. So number 1, seek motivation. Number 2, listen. For God's sakes, God gave you 2 sets of ears for a reason. I think the man upstairs knows better than you and me. Why would he give us 2 ears? Is one a spare? I don't know. No, it means the better listener are, the more effective you're going to be in life. And that's not a wholesaling tip, guys. That's a husband tip, that especially a husband tip. My God. So the more you can listen, the more feedback you get, and the more you can help people out. The problem in today's society is most people talk too much because their ego is worn on their shoulders and everybody's trying to one up everyone. He or she that will listen to a motivated seller's problem will be able to provide the absolute best situation. How do I know this? Trust me. I know this. You have to use the 80-20 rule. 80% listening, 20% precise questions you ask in wholesaling. And I'll show you what those questions are in this live today. It won't be a problem at all. Now, once I seek the motivation, I listen. Now I act and I solve the problem. That's it, guys. I know it's very simplistic, but this is the reality of how wholesaling works. And if you try to do this in any other order, you will not be in business for long. Because I've tried to mix this order up, God knows, 1,000 times over. So let me review again. Seek motivation. Listen. The proof in the pudding for wholesaling is when you hear a problem, you should have an idea on how to fix it. And then more importantly, how to solve the problem. That's what you get paid for, guys. We all know that the amount of money you make in life is going to be proportionate to the amount of problems you solve. So that's what's attracted you to wholesaling. If you don't get this order, seek motivation, listen, and then solve the problem, you're not wholesaling. Nowhere in there did I say comp a property for 4 hours, or nowhere did I say go on MLS and sit there for 10 days and try to figure out who's willing to sell a property, even though they were asking for full price on MLS. So there's no right and wrong way to do wholesaling in theory, but I'm telling you, if you truly want to be wholesaling, it's in the art of finding the deal and getting stuff done. Anything else? Most people are just flirting with real estate. They're just talking. A lot of people want to be realtors. Some people are just hobbyists. We're all a little bit different. So let's start the process on how to work with the best motivated seller script. Now, I use the word script loosely. To be honest with you, I hate scripts. I feel like I'm back in school in a test. Do you ever memorize? I remember memorizing the chemistry, which is a terrible student in chemistry. I am sorry. I really owe my 10th grade teacher an apology because I was a really bad student. But the one thing that I learned is they taught me how to memorize the elements table. And to this day, it's actually been somewhat beneficial. Doing coral reefs and aquariums, you would understand. But the reality is memorizing stuff, it's fake. And I know it. So have you ever memorized something for a test? You put it on the test and then you just throw it out of your mind. What is the purpose of that? Just to get a good grade so you can move on, so you can get a good job and work for somebody else and work on their dreams? I know you guys aren't down with that. So you have to understand that I don't like memorization. Now, if it's quick and it's short and it's easy and it's fail proof, that's fine. So what happens is most of you guys, when you're meeting with sellers or talking to them on the phone, especially the first time, you freak out. Why? Because you're in an uncomfortable environment. You've never done it before. And something happens in the human body. You can practice it till you turn blue. When the stress hits, like, let me give an example of stress. I remember when I was young, I didn't have a lot of money. I had a beat up old used Mustang. Thing was terrible. Always fixing the car. The AC never worked. And I remember I was having problems with the battery and the alternator. So I'm like 19, 20 years old. And I just pray this car can like get me to and from school and work. And I remember the thing died right in a major intersection when I was in a turn lane. It was literally the most stressful situation at that age. And like, you just start to perspire, you freak out, you start using a lot of curse words, and you learn. Like, I failed in that environment. I had to call a couple friends. I wound up getting towed. It's just very stressful. You guys do the same thing when you're on the phone. because you're not used to it. So let me show you the exact process on how to deal with a seller from start to finish. Now, some of you guys are doing this virtually. Some of you guys are doing this locally. Both of them count. I will tell you, it's a little bit different. It's a little bit different in person versus on the phone. Here's the secret. If you guys are doing this virtually, which is awesome, your listening skills got to be even better. They've got to be 10 times better because you don't get the visual cues. That 60 to 70% of nonverbal communication, you can't see it, you have to hear it. And sometimes it's the tonality and the pauses and stuff like that that make the difference on the phone. So here's how we're going to start with every motivated seller. I don't care how you got the lead. I'm hoping you got it from like a government list, driving for dollars, reverse driving for dollars. Maybe somebody just referred you to lead. Maybe your title company did. I have a seller, hey, and they want to sell the home. That's all I got. And they said they got to get it sold by the end of the month. So I have a hint. So I always start with a hint of motivation. That's what all your lists have. We call them prospects, right? Once we have prospects, we get on the phone and we start calling. And here's the first thing you do. And people are just like, Rick, we have to qualify. We have to make sure it's perfect. Let's get the easy part done first. So if I talk to 100 people, if I cold call them, if I visit in person, the reality is probably 85 to 90 of them don't even want to deal with me. Here's the problem with most of you. You try to enforce on these 100 leads, you try to close every one of them. Remember back in the beginning example, I'm not a car salesman in a dealership. I'm not expected to have a 100% closing ratio. We're not even close to that. So the first thing I want to do, I'm going to do this logically and you really use my time wisely. I'm going to get rid of the clowns that don't want to do any business with me. Why? I don't want to spend 20 minutes talking to somebody who has zero interest in selling me a property. And you people that do that, you literally just waste your time and you burn yourself out. If they're not motivated, move on. I can't stress this enough. Using this tactic I'm teaching you right now will take most of the stress out of dealing with the seller, because dealing with a non-motivated seller is literally torture to me. Honestly, I'd rather go sit in front of the three retail agents and bid a property up than to go through a seller that has zero motivation. It is a huge time waster. No matter what you say or do, the only way you're going to convince them to sell that house is overpay for it. And if you overpay for a property, you're not wholesaling. You're just a hobbyist. And I don't want you to be that. So first thing we do, we disqualify first. Rick, how do I disqualify? It's actually easy. Ask the simple questions of the ones that don't want to do business with you. Well, that's a little transparent. You're right. So I want you to put this on your list first. Don't worry, guys. This is recorded. You disqualify first. Why? Because I'm talking to 100 people and say 80 of them have zero interest. Let's get rid of the 80. And that's going to save me probably 100 hours right there. So how do we disqualify? Two simple questions. They're very nicely put. And by the way, all your qualifying questions should be in order of importance. So if they're not motivated, I want to find that out in the beginning of the conversation. To find out at the end, you literally just gave an hour of your time up. And we don't work for free. So we're not doing a regular job. So it's real simple. Are you the owner of the property? Do you have interest in selling your property? Do you need to sell your property? You know, there's no perfect way to say this, but this is the disqualifying process. If you can just take a note of this and understand, if you disqualify first, you'll do better. For those of you that are cold calling, you have to disqualify first or you're literally wasting your time. Can you imagine having a 20-minute conversation with every seller you talk to and you talk to thousands? You're never going to get anywhere. And if you do, you're not going to make any money. So we're going to disqualify first. So once we disqualify, so someone says, yes, I'm the owner of the property, and yes, I have an interest in selling on it. We're past the initial scrape stage. This should get rid of 70, 80% of all your tire kickers, the people. My favorite one is, I'll sell if the price is right. So Bob Barker don't play that game. Rick don't play that game. And I don't want you to play that game. I have never gotten a good deal when someone says if the price is right. It is a game show run during the week on people that stay at home and watch TV. I'm not knocking for anyone doing that, but like, when you hear the price is right, run. It's that is one of the most common objections I get. Not even an objection, a statement. And once I hear it, all my people in our sales department, I call sales just because we generate leads, even though it's not selling. Once they hear if the price is right, I just move on. We're wasting time. You have to get through the leads. That's the name of the game. So if I've taught you, you have to have a lot of quantity, especially when you start out wholesaling. If you don't understand disqualification, you cannot qualify people. So get rid of the time wasters, the dreamers, the pie in the sky people. I have a perfect house. I know it's only worth 250,000, but I want 450,000 because that's the price that's right for me. See ya. Don't want to be you, and I don't want to talk to you. Honestly, I won't even refer you to a real estate agent because you're a nightmare. So the reality is, if there is no motivation, we just move on. If you guys can understand the beginning of this presentation, it makes qualifying so simple. But the problem when you guys are trying to qualify people that don't even want to do business with you, they get rude, they get nasty, they drop F bombs, and they make you very sour and wholesaling. I don't want you to do it. The first 2 years, I figured this out the hard way. I told my wife, I told everybody, my son was too young at the time, I'm going to close everybody. And I just burnt myself out. It was so exhausting. And then after year 2, a light bulb went off. I go, why deal with people that have zero motivation? That's it. I don't. I rather sit around idle, spend time with my dog, my wife, my kids. Obviously, I'd rather go fishing, but dealing with an unmotivated seller, like I'd rather have a root canal than do that. It's torture. And I don't know why you guys deal with people like that. It's false hope. It's not the one you're looking for. And if that's all you're getting, you got to relook at your list. Are you attacking government list? Are you going after arrest records? Are you looking for the highest motivation list? Guys, the second part of 2023 has been a real challenging year for us, meaning we actually have to find value add deals, deals that make sense that cash buyers want to invest in a very challenging interest rate environment and economy. So here's the cool part. If you engaged wholesaling in 2023, you are learning the core fundamentals of how it works. If you did it before 2023, there was a 7-year period where any guru, coach, influencer, call them whatever you want, they couldn't screw it up if they wanted to. I got to be honest with you, 5 years prior to 2023, really even 2022, to me, it didn't even feel like wholesaling because everybody made it work. Now that we actually have to do deals, all of a sudden there's people leaving the space. It's harder. It's not harder. You guys just had it so easy for so long, you forgot what real work was. So no motivation. See you later. I'm not going to mess with you. Yes, motivation. Now we move on to qualifying. Don't worry, guys. This is recorded. You have it all on the screen for you. So once we understand that we're not selling, we are guiding people. Our job is to move the seller down the process to make a decision of yes or no. The sooner you get the decision, the better off you are. So now that we have a yes, and when I say a yes, what's his yes? The house needs, so there's 2 types of motivation. There's the seller that's motivated, which is the absolute best one. They have a pressing need to get the house sold. Maybe it's a maintenance issue. Maybe the house just isn't functioning. There's no running water. And 9 times out of 10, it's a personal need. I need to move or I need money. The other one, the most likely of the 2, which you guys find with driving for dollars all the time, is the house is motivated, meaning the house looks like crap. It's in really rough shape. The seller just has not come around to accept what the current condition of the house and their situation is. Now, in a rare world, sometimes you get a motivated seller and you get a motivated house, and those are easy. It's what we call low-hanging fruit. And those are rare, but when you get them, that is the exception, not the norm. So many of you think everything's like low-hanging fruit. It ain't. I promise you that. So we have a yes. So now we are going to start the process. This is where we start building rapport. Now, if I'm a baker, and dude, the last thing you ever want me to do is baking. I can barbecue. I can deal with meats, but I can't bake anything, according to my wife and my daughter. So the reality is this is when I'm really going to start working on my rapport building. I don't really spend a lot of time in the beginning, especially in the disqualification period, because I want their true intention if there's any type of motivation at all. So this is where I'm going to start really churning it on. This is where you've got to be that person that they want to do business with. How? Most people want to do business with people they know and they trust, like a friend. So you have to find a way to penetrate that. In the beginning, you are going to get a lot of resistance. So you have to be the peacemaker. You have to be the person to extend, and you have to guide people in the conversation when it comes to a motivated seller. So the first thing is, you guys know, unless you've been living under a rock, everybody knows what our qualification processes are. I would love to have somebody put the acronyms in the comments, because if you don't know it, you can go over to freewholesaling.com and you can pull it up. What is our 4-letter acronym so we qualify any prospect that's interested in selling a property? I will wait. I will wait. I will wait. Somebody. There you go. Jason's got it. Winston's got it. MCTP. So it's motivation, condition, timeline, and price. Don't worry. I got you covered. But some of you guys start out on MCTP before you did the stuff I taught you. You need to disqualify first. Once you find motivation, now I'm going to turn on the charm and start qualifying. So here's where most of you screw it up and you freak out. So the problem with the script is, here's a classic one. I don't know. I get our company gets every seller from Jersey because we're in Florida. They'll say, Rick, just give me the price. Give me the price. I need the price right now. Hold. If you just give the price and you spend no time building rapport, no time disqualifying, or maybe he is qualified, he said yes. If you don't go through this process, you are nothing more than an order taker and you will be replaced by a bot or AI. I'm sorry, guys, you have to work through this. So that example, when someone's trying to take control, and we all know people in life like this, they don't want a presentation. They just want to get to the bottom line. So listen, Mr. Seller, I can't make you an offer on a house I haven't even seen, or I have the numbers from you. And let me ask you this, would you walk into a dealership and buy a car without ever test driving it? Oh, no. Okay. Let me go through. I just have some really simple questions. I promise I'll make this the simplest transaction ever. But I just got to get some basic information. Do you mind if I ask you right now? That's it. You have to turn around, because if they go, give me the price, you give a price, he doesn't like it, hangs up on you, you just wasted your time. I get a lot of people, when my first 2 years, a lot of people attacked me on this, and you have a choice. You can navigate through it. What am I dealing? I'm dealing with a very egotistical person that wants to be in control. So I'm going to slightly shift their attitude and let them know why I need to get more information. If you'll allow me to do it, we can actually give you a number. That's it. And every time I have an objection, I bring it up. Guys, there's only really 5 objections in wholesaling. I've done an entire videos on this. I'll do it. Once you go through enough of these appointments, these phone calls, you will figure it out real quickly. So qualifying process, MCTP. This is your secret script. I hate the word secret. There's no such thing as secret in wholesaling. This is it. Motivation, condition, timeline, and price. Here's the key though. You have to take the MCTP and you have to make it a rapport building exercise. So many of you treat this like it's a damn checklist and you're not authentic about it, and it shows. Please don't be that robot. Don't be that VA. You all hire a VA. What is your motivation? What do you mean? What is my motivation? What is your motivation? On my script, it says, what is your motivation? Guys, these scripts are for you. So MTCP. So here's typically what happens, and here's where you guys get really hung up. You start going through it, say the seller, I go, tell me a little bit about what's going on with you, or, the story with it, however you guys do it. Seller goes, what's your price? I teach you the method. You go back and they go, no. When are you going to close on this? What are you going to do with the house? And once they get out of order, you guys freak out. And then you tell your seller, go, hold on, I'm lost in my script here. Hold on one second. And they go, man, like I'm being sold here. And if your sellers think they're being sold, you have 0 shot at getting a good deal. End of story, guys. This is how it works. So let's talk about, I'm going to dig into the MCTP. MCTP is a simple checklist. It's 4 qualifications that if you get this information, you have a good shot to comprise to see if you can put a great wholesale deal together. Without it, it gets very muddy. Now, MCTP, I know you can all memorize it. And this allows you, if you have to bounce around, you can bounce around. And here's how I let people bounce around. Once I open it up and start talking to them, and I'll show you my opening line, I let them dictate where they want to go, but I keep going through my MCTP. So if I get the motivation first, I just simply put a mark through M and I go to the next one. If time frame comes up and the seller volunteers their time frame, go with it. The last thing you tell the seller, go, wait a minute, until I get the condition of the property, I cannot move forward on my sales script process. And this is the problem. We are becoming robots. You guys are smart. I promise you, this takes practice. You will not learn this overnight. You learn it through repetition. But please don't practice on your sellers. Practice within your house. Use your family, use your brother, your sister, your mom, your dad, your spouse, your uncle, your niece, your nephew, your aunt. Dude, I used to pick on everybody on this. I'm like big on practicing on this. So let's start with motivation. Motivation. So this is the one you guys mostly screw up. Why? If you ask someone, hey, what is your motivation? They have no freaking idea what you're talking about. They are clueless. What do you mean, what is my motivation? The word motivation is an internal qualifying for you and me. And if I could relabel this, I would for you. So understand motivation is nothing more than the seller's story. It is the seller's story. If I could tell you, hey, go seek the seller's story, but it misleads a lot of you and you don't understand it. So if you've ever been confused on why we ask motivation, it is the seller's story. Notice I said the seller's story. And I want them to lead the story. You can't tell them the story because you don't know it. And this is how you build rapport and connect with people. The key with good rapport going through the MCTP is turning it into a conversation. How do you know you have a conversation? Go talk to your friends and your family, and you have this natural flowing conversation that both people are engaged and they actually enjoy it. When it becomes a yes or no and a questionnaire, it's like being interrogated by a police officer. Nobody likes it, and they want to get out of the conversation as fast as possible. So here's what I say when I don't say, "Hey, seller, what's your motivation?" I go, "Hey, John, what's the story, man? What's going on with you? What like how can I help you out?" Just shut up. And then I let them start spewing their story. Now, some people naturally tell you what's going on. Other people are all over the board. So if you see in parentheses, here's the key, guys. You have to find the truth. And I'm here to tell you, you're going to be lied to a lot. How do I know this? I know it because, hold on, let me clear this out. The reality is, if you can find the truth from the seller, you can do the greatest wholesale deal in the world. Here's the reality though, okay? I'm going to give you one of the biggest hints on their motivation. Motivated sellers tend to tell the truth. Others lie to you. Dude, that's 21 years compiled right there. When I have an authentic, motivated seller and they're like, no, Rick, I really need help. I got to get this sold by the end of the year. Can you help me? Can you get me an offer? Like, I just need this done. So what I do is when a motivated seller gives me that information, I memorize it. And this is the part you memorize it. She said, I need to get the house sold by the end of the year in the next 2 to 3 weeks, and I need this deal done. She didn't even talk about price. That seller wants certainty and speed. I promise you they want convenience and all the other stuff. And now I'm going to offer them a solution to do that. When motivated sellers, when they're not motivated, they tend to manipulate you as a wholesaler. Throw in a realtor or anything like that. It is no longer about the truth. It's about what they want to accomplish with you. And it's typically going to be price sensitive and they're going to hide all the faults in the property. So if you can figure out how to find a motivated seller and get the truth, you do much better. Guys, let me know in the comments if you've ever dealt with a truly motivated seller. They just cut to the chase, tell you what the problem is and what they want to get done. It's so easy. When they sit there and lie to you and make up these elaborate lies, they always get caught in them and we just waste each other's time. So this is why you want to seek out motivation sooner than later, because if you get too far down the rabbit hole, they look at you as a mark and they want you to overpay for their property and we just waste everyone's time. You get pissed, the seller gets pissed, and it just burns you out of the business. So motivation, get the seller's story. And number 2, make sure, understand, if you get the truth, it's an easy deal. If you get a fabrication of lies, it's a pain in the butt. I know what you're saying, Rick, how do I know if they're lying to me? Honestly, it's real easy. Anybody knows anytime, especially like little kids, when they start telling a lie, it tends to snowball. Well, as an adult, after a while, and with a great CR system, you can tell when people are lying to you. The story doesn't add up. Perfect example is, Rick, I told you I had to talk with my mother and get approval in the process. I wait a week, you do that. He comes back, I got to talk to my sister. And then it's my brother. After about 3 weeks, I'm like, I don't understand why you have to talk to all these people. They're lying to you. And you got to get to the truth. You see, if you get to the truth, that's where great wholesale deals lie. If you have to dance around the truth, you don't have enough money to throw at it to fix it, in my opinion. So understand if you find the motivation and it's consistent and you document it, you can find out what the truth is pretty quickly. I find the truth once they get past that awkward stage and they trust you, they will tell you the truth if they're truly motivated. If they're not motivated, they're going to tell you everything's perfect in the property and tell you to pay top dollar, and then you're going to be disappointed in the end. So let's move on to the next one. C, condition. This here, if you see to the right, it says it is the property story. This is what's going on with the property. So notice motivation was about the seller story. Now you talk about the property story. This is a really easy one. This is the one that goes, just, hey, Mr. Seller, tell me a little bit about the property. Shut your mouth and let them talk. This is the point where you got to let them talk 80% of the time. One of 2 things are going to happen. They're either going to tell you how crappy the property is and how miserable they are, or they're typically going to tell you how perfect it is. And I let them go deep, deep down the rabbit hole. If they come back to me and tell me it's got a white picket fence, it's perfect, it's just a perfect property, I just throw this single line into them. Sounds like a great property. Why would you be even interested in selling it? I want to reiterate again, do I have a motivated seller or did you just tell me a lie? And the sooner you snuff this stuff out by condition, you should already know if you're close to the ballpark. Now, keep in mind, they might jump down the time frame first. That's fine. Just put a little line across T, and now you go on the C. Anybody, any child could memorize. It's so simple. It's easy. And the more authentic you guys are going to be, the better off you're going to do. Next one, time frame. That's the win. And then that lets you gauge their urgency. To be honest with you, this is a huge focus point on if you have a motivated seller. Now, remember, in the beginning, we just shot over the bow. Now we're going deeper. Time frame to me is anybody looking to sell within 90 days. I am all over them. Why? 90 days is fast to the average seller. I get a rental property, anything like that. But the reality is, if they've never even thought about selling their property, or they don't know when they're going to sell it and they're confused by it, I'm here to tell you, you are a long way from getting a deal. So I want to get their unconscious answer on when they are ready to sell. If they go, wow, I haven't really thought about it. And here's a simple go-to phrase that you can use with them. Where are you going to be moving to in the event we buy your property? Listen, use your ears, listen to them. And if they go like this, I'm going to be moving in with my sister, Susie, at the end of the month in North Carolina. I already got moving trucks lined up. I am all over this deal because that confirms my motivation. The condition confirms my motivation, and the seller's story all confirms my motivation. MCTP is to make sure you have the right seller. So once we disqualify, we're going to the last one, which is price. And this is the other one a lot of people struggle with. The word price is for you and me. It's not for our sellers. The last thing I ever want you to ask a seller is, what is your price? How much are you offering the property for? What's your ask price? How much do you need to sell the property for? Terrible, terrible, terrible wording. So I'm simply going to use core words so I can get to their subconscious thought. So if you go, what are you asking for the property? You immediately let them think retail. They think like a realtor, and they're going to overshoot your number. So try this one. This one works really well. Mr. Seller, what do you need to get rid of this property? It's not the prettiest comment, but it is the truth. When I got an ugly property, it's like, what do you need to move on? What do you need to get rid of this property? Notice I never said, what are you asking for this property? How much do you want? Remember, there's a huge difference between what the seller needs, not what the seller wants. Okay. I want to weigh 180 pounds with a six-pack and not have a crease in my face and have a perfect fitness level. That's what I want. But what do I need right now? I just need to stick to my correct nutrients, stick to my workout program, and eat a heck of a lot more greens. That's what I need. But what do I want? So when we talk about wants, we tend to talk about wishes. We talk about needs. It's like, what do I need right now? As a wholesaler, your job is to find out what they need right now. It's the only way to put the best deal together. If you start going on wants, you're never going to get anywhere. Make sense? Okay. I've been checking the comments here. Let's do this. And the next process is set the appointment. I'm a terrible speller, based on the MCT process. At the end of the MCT process, decide if you're moving forward with an appointment or not. Now, in the beginning, if you're not sure, go. If you got a 3-hour drive and they're talking about retail numbers, I probably don't go. I just deal with a phone call or an email or something like that. Maybe even a text. So let's talk. So I've given you the mechanics, and trust me, the mechanics are what you need. Stop trying to memorize every word you're going to say, someone, and understanding I've saved the best part for the last. This is the part where you're actually going to get a lesson on how people truly think. Now, let me give you a little bit of preface on this. For the last 20 years, we lived in the society when the internet came and stuff switched from the major news medias to social media and everything like that. There was a huge window where everybody lied. The lying was so out of control. It's still there. But here's the difference is the public knows about it now. And they know when you flash a Lambo, a fancy car. Honestly, it's the easiest way to say I'm broke is just show me your flash. Cars are a joke, guys. A couple $100,000. The most expensive car I've ever seen is like $630,000. I know there's higher ones out there. But the reality is somebody flashes a Lambo or something. They only do it for one reason, to sell you on something. Because I've learned very, very wealthy people don't have to show everything they own. It's actually wealthy people are the complete opposite. They don't show everything they own. And the reason I'm telling you this is to be authentic and real, you have to be yourself, number one. So let's talk about the two most important attributes when dealing with sellers. So the point of that conversation I just had is everything you guys have been so worked for the last 20 years with Facebook, Instagram, you name it, it's out there. You're starting to question what everyone's about. Like, hey, show me you own that Lambo. Don't show me you lease it. There is YouTube influencers that rent big fat houses. I'm not, you guys can look it up. I don't make this stuff up. And they make themselves appear bigger than they normally are. They don't own the home, guys. And if they own the home, they would brag to you about it. But they lease the home because you got people that'll pay $20, $30, $50,000 to try to get access to them. And they're being duped because the reality is they don't have that. The only reason they have that lifestyle is because they take all your coaching money. And then if you see private chefs, fancy things, dude, show me the deed. Show me the deed, dude. I'll show up there tomorrow. They'll never show you the deed. And then if you notice over and over, all you see are the high ends of bling. They're tricking your mind. You need to look at financial statements, balance sheets, and cash in the bank account and show me what you're actually selling or how you're producing. And if you're only producing off tricking people into giving you money, you're being duped. But they still do it. You guys keep buying into it. Don't do it. I'm here to tell you. And the other trick is you'll find people go one industry to the next industry and they get like super pissed about. It's ridiculous. If you're really good, you'll do great in wholesaling. If you're really good initial, you stick to it. If someone constantly bounce around different industries, heed the warning because they're just working you. So you guys have 20 years of BS of people flashing cars and houses they don't own. It's a joke. I go out of my way not to show you guys anything because it's not going to help you. The kind of car I drive or the house I live in, how does that help you? It just shows you how shallow I am if I do that, because if you're going to base my value off the car I drive, people are going to rip you off so bad in this world. I used to fall for people like this all the time. I don't anymore. My point being is we've gone from a society where everyone lies and fakes it to you. We are on the other side of that spectrum. So I think over the next 10 years, you're going to look at apps and sites that actually have to verify you, make sure who you are. And if you're selling an expensive financial product, you're going to have to prove up financials, submit P&Ls, do balance sheets, show them where your money comes from, and then people believe you. The reality is the more sales like you are, the more you freak people out. Because for the last 20 years, we've been sold everything. I remember in the early 2000s in the internet, it was absolutely nuts. The opposite's going now. People are starting to call out phonies, people that don't do anything but post all day. That's all they ever do. They don't actually do real estate. Guys, most people that post on the internet, like who say they're an expert in real estate, they do very few deals. Or they used to, and then they found this thing on the internet where they could just make a ton of money without doing any deals. It just lessened the risk. So what I'm saying is we've been oversold. Everyone's been so fake for the last 20 years. The new acceptance is the people that are real, raw, and authentic. Why? Because it's who we are. I'm just like everybody else here. I put on my pants one leg at a time. So I always tell you, you got to lose your ego to be good in wholesaling. And I lost my ego and amazing things changes. So the two most important things, put it in the comments. I'll give credit to who can come up with the two most important attributes to connect with a seller as a wholesaler. What are the two things? And they're both one-word answers. One word. So let's see in the comments and gets it, and I'll drag their butt on here and we'll talk about it. What are the two things that you have to, what are the two most important things when connecting with a motivated seller? Come on, give it to me. I'm not going to spit it out. I'm going to make you work for this one a little bit. So Jordan's got half of it. Authenticity is one. What's the next one? This is a big one. And some people act like they have it and some people actually do have it. All the answers are right, but what's the most important one? We're missing it. I'm not going to give you the letter. Authenticity is one. I've already explained why it is. People are so sick of being lied to. Charisma's good. Here it is, dude. Bingo. Got it. Confidence. I want you to understand this, guys. Look at this. Authenticity, confidence. If you can put those two together, there's nobody that can stop you from wholesaling. Now, authenticity and confidence is something you demonstrate and you earn. It's never given to you. I will tell you this, authenticity, it is the new currency in social media. The more real you can be, the less makeup you can put on, and the more vulnerable you can be. Not vulnerable, like I don't need people crying on the internet telling me about their horror stories. Like we all got that going on to a point. But the reality is, like, show me you're a human being and show me every now and then you screw up. It means I show it all the time. Honestly, working with my son will keep him more humbled because it's not easy to work with family because we work every day together. So we have offices together, we have multiple businesses, and I enjoy it. And one of our successes, people just enjoy that we're just completely authentic about everything. And that's what I want you to understand. If you don't demonstrate authenticity to your sellers, you're a dead man walking. How do I demonstrate it? It's easy, guys. So I'm going to show you how. Confidence, it's a tricky one. I'm not going to lie to you because you have to act as if you have it when you don't have it. And most of the time when you do your first deal or two, the confidence just, it overwhelms you. It rushes you. It is your proof of concept. And you have to act as if you have confidence even before you get your first deal. And I know that's challenging. I went through that same struggle. I'm like, I don't know crap. I don't know if I can actually help people out. And I just went through it. I actually documented my whole process. I had my son document the process. The reality is you're no different than me and him. And that's why I want you to understand it. I'm going to give you a couple more tips, and then I'm going to teach you at the very end of this presentation on how to truly master authenticity. It's really simple. So let's share some tips whenever you're dealing with the motivated sellers. Number one, avoid labels. You guys know what I mean. I'm not going to waste a bunch of time on this. You're not an investor. You're not a wholesaler. You're simply a person trying to help them out, trying to buy the house for cash. The problem is if you use the word wholesaler, investor, they're going to have a preconceived notion of who you are. And remember, it's their definition, not yours. So why be prejudged? So you want to go in as vanilla as possible. The next one, I told you earlier, don't chase sellers. Like, Rick, what do you mean by that? The reality is, I wanted a deal so bad when I was talking to my first seller. You have this weird tendency to overpay for the property because you think the victory is in the contract. It's not in the contract. It's in the assignment contract. That is victory in wholesaling. Any moron can sign a contract with a seller. The seller has no idea if it's good or bad for you. So I'm understanding is you have to learn not to chase sellers. How do you not chase sellers? Learn the art of detachment. The more dependent you are on getting a deal, and if you're only working one deal, this is why I try to teach you about volume and quantity. You become so dependent, it becomes your identity. If this seller doesn't sell me my property, I'm a crappy wholesaler. No. Sellers sense when you chase them, and once you start attacking and chasing them, they're going to pull back from you. So Rick, let me get this straight. I don't have a deal right now, and you're telling me not to overchase people and act like I'm detached. That's right. You have to defy the human emotion of detachment. People sense it. You put out an energy. And if you're too desperate, they sense it. Either they won't do a deal with you or you'll have to push the price so high, it's not worth doing a wholesale deal. So every now and then it is okay to walk away from properties. In fact, you're going to walk away from more properties than you actually take on. Some deals just aren't worth it. When you're emotionally attached to a wholesale deal, you are no longer a wholesaler. You have fallen out of the realm. And I see this all the time. So we talk about authenticity. We talk about confidence. Authenticity is very important. Now, confidence. I'm telling you, confidence can be learned. Here's the biggest problem you guys have with confidence is, number one, you don't believe in yourself, which we got to fix that. I don't have a quick pill for you on that. You have to start taking the actions. Confidence is your ability in what you do. And the easiest way to gain confidence is practice. Most of you do not practice. You want to make an example? Hop on here. I'll do a live cold call with you. We'll do a role playing. The reality is once you put under that stress environment with the lights, you guys, like most people, freak out. I did in the beginning. It's the same thing. So the lights and the cameras are your sellers. So why not practice it? When you become really good at confidence, you stop using filler words. How do I know this? How do I know when someone hasn't practiced? If you constantly use the word but a lot of okays. I was there too, guys. I did the exact same thing. So to become completely confident, you need to know what you're saying. The biggest thing that's going to shoot up confidence if you're not confident in yourself. And number two, you use filler words because you don't know what to say. Have you ever been in a conversation and you ask someone a very direct question and then they look down and they go, it means they're trying to think of an answer that you want to get out of that situation. And that's the last thing you want from any type of seller. So confidence can be practiced. You will never get confidence without practice, I guarantee you. So you can either practice on your customers or you can practice with your family or friends or colleagues you work with in the business. Understanding confidence to me is the one that just takes discipline and you got to practice it. How do you know if you're confident? Well, hop on and do a live role play with me. I'll show you if you're confident or not. It's the words that come out of your mouth and your tonality. And if you know how to respond to people, you don't need filler words, because you're extremely confident in your answer and it comes across the sellers. Most of you are going to do it over time. If you want to accelerate it, you have to practice it. So we talked about detachment. So we always talk about authenticity. Well, Rick, I think I'm kind of a boring story. You're not. That's just your own thought in your head. So if you ever get stuck in the MCTP and it seems to be going robotic, it's real simple. You want to be authentic, dude, just be yourself. I don't need you to be me. You don't need to be Zach. You don't need to be any of these other people out there. We need more of you. And how do I know to be you? Number one, to be authentic, speak from your heart. Don't speak from the script. People know when you're talking to them. So there's a million different personality types out there. There's a million tests. The reality is I have figured out if I can connect with people, build rapport, and solve a problem, I can make a crap load of money. I'm naturally an empath person. I feel others people's pain. That's why I'm so good at this. It's got downsides though, especially a guy like me with ADHD, and I work on it. Trust me, I get all sorts of help. But the reality is, if you're not an empathetic person, you got to find a way to work with people. So if you can speak from the heart, and if you don't believe me, try it. If you ever get completely lost in your words, I simply look a seller in your eye and go, listen, I want to help you out. I know this is painful. Let's walk through some scenarios and see what we can do here. Just guys, just speaking from your heart will solve a lot of your problems. So stop trying to make up words. And if you don't know the words, go get the education and learn. And the only way you learn is by practice, practice, practice. And so many of you don't want to practice. You think you're like, you can wing it. You can't. The problem is if you don't practice and you get in front of a motivated seller and it's a good deal, you could actually screw it up. Remember, you're a guide. Your job is to push your lead towards a yes or a no. You're never going to make them say yes, but you can create more urgency and try to get to that final answer. It's so important you understand that. So just speaking from your heart, man, it solves a lot of my problems. Dude, I'm going to be honest. I've shed plenty of tears with sellers. I've had so many things happen. And then once you ever get lost and you're at a loss for words, don't make up words. Don't use your ums, your buts. Just grab your heart. And if you want to do it just like, oh my God, I could never imagine what you're going through. And I'm so glad you called me. Let's see how we can help you. And just a lot of times I'm putting on their shoulder, or I'm just talking to them and I'm closer to them and they feel it. They know who's going to be authentic. Whereas I'm just a transactional person, it's going to be purely about price. So you have a choice. You can either go transactional or you can connect with people on a conversation level. I promise you, if you do the methods me and Dak teach you over at freewholesaling.com, you will just obliterate your competition. So guys, I don't like scripts. I've been the first one to tell you, I think scripts are ridiculous. I can tell when someone's got me on the phone. God knows I get enough live cold calls on the ridiculous amount of phones I have. I can tell when someone's reading from a script right off the bat. You guys can. So don't be that person that reads from the script. MCTP, disqualify, MCTP, set the appointment, speak from the heart. It's really simple. And guys, if you want to be authentic, speak from the heart. If you want to be confident, practice. If you can get those two things down and really learn how to market and wholesaling, it's a lot of fun.